Welcome back, everybody, inside the Gamecocks, the show. First hour of the show, presented to you by Cindy Searfoss, the Coldwell Banker Kane Realty Team here in the Upstate. 864-414-5271 is how to get in touch with Cindy and her team about upstate residential real estate needs. And, of course, we're joined on the McKellar Enterprises guest line by Coach Stuart Lake, as we are weekly.
I have a question right off the top. Okay,
yes,
so
probably
yesterday, Stuart, yesterday, I took the afternoon off, decided I was going to listen to my beloved White Sox, and your guy Lance Lynn pitched. What's wrong? What's wrong with him? They're down 10-2 in the fourth inning. It ruined my whole. I had to switch over to the Braves A's, which was an equally terrible game, but the Braves won. But I was like, what's going on with Lance Lynn?
Well, I didn't keep up, but let me ask, how did Jonah Bride do? I know he's had some success back up with the A's. Was he in lineup yesterday too?
He did. I saw him hit a ground ball out. I was actually texting with JB when he came up. It was 0 for 3 yesterday, but he got a hit earlier, but did pretty well. But I just the White Sox drive me crazy because they got a lot of talent, and it's just I've never seen a pro team just not try. Amazing to me. So anyway.
Well, it's amazing. God, I think Lance, how long he's been in the league now?
Golly, I know.
I think he came out of Ole Miss, I guess, in 05, 06. I'm trying to think what year. Maybe it was 06 or 07. Heck, I don't know. But he's hung around forever.
Maybe a Cy Young candidate this year in the preseason. And I'm like, it's gone out the window. So Angels have a tough lineup, though. So we'll see. Anyway, on to the Gamecocks. My bad.
I was listening to you guys. You got a lot to sort out with all these TV games and football. Jeez, we may need a little TV guide again if I don't know where to find all the show, what games are on where.
I think you're actually dead on about that. You know how many people are going to just be flipping through channels in the fall and realize that there's so many other games going on, either on the ESPN app or the Peacock app or whatever it is. And it's everything is cyclical in life, Coach. In the next 5 to 10 years, somebody's going to come up with this thing called cable again, and they're going to put all this stuff right back into a box. And this new generation of kids are going to be like, "Never seen this before. This is unbelievable."
Yeah, it probably will. Hopefully, they'll have a black box too, like the old days. They can watch everything. So that'd be fun.
MTV might actually show music videos again. I mean, soon come full circle.
Hang on. I'm gonna try to hang on.
JC's favorite, Beavis and Butthead. All right, Coach. Drew Meyer, by the way, coming up at the top of the 12 o'clock hour. So pretty good stuff here today as we get you ready for the regional at South Carolina. So some interesting news yesterday because Jay and Terry had Coach Hickey on with Central Connecticut State, and he said that they're probably not going to start their ace tomorrow night, which really probably shouldn't be shocking news considering he threw 231 pitches in 4 days in the conference tournament last weekend. A kid who I went and looked at his numbers, and I know that, of course, they haven't played a level of competition that we're used to seeing really at any level in the great state of South Carolina. But he has had an outstanding year. This young man who's not going to get the start tomorrow night, Coach. Lefty, 88-92, throws 3 pitches for strikes, only walked 24 guys all season. The most interesting stat I found on him, he had 14 starts. He had 14 decisions. So he goes deep, throws a lot of pitches. That doesn't seem to bother anybody. So I kind of thought all week, all right, look, he's not a guy you're just going to run up his pitch count and get him out of there. He's going to stick around unless you take a good disciplined approach in there and bang him out of there. But he's not going to pitch now. So I don't know if you ever saw this guy pitch or not, but those are the type of dudes that win game one sometimes for a 4 seed. Carolina's going to miss him. They're going to get their second guy tomorrow night. What does that mean in your mind? What type of break is that for Carolina? And their 3-hole hitters out because he was ejected last weekend.
Well, I think both of those could be big things. Obviously, you're coming in from your Central Connecticut State. You want to be at full speed as well. So common sense tells us you throw that many pitches, 16 innings he pitched in the conference tournament because they came from the losers bracket. But I went ahead and looked, and I assumed Jake Newman. They haven't announced that, but we kind of all assumed that I guess you're throwing your 2 guy unless they know something else. Another left-handed pitcher, good numbers, 71 2/3 inning, 56 punch out. So sounds like a kind of a put it in play type pitcher more than the kid we were expecting was going to be kind of a strikeout guy. He had been D1's pitcher of the week, coming off the performance he had. But then with the hitter out, which I heard that yesterday too, I guess they got him in a celebration type ejection is how the coach kind of made it. Sounded like he hit a home run to bust the game open and then got ejected. So it really made me think we're going to see some crazy umpiring, I think, involvement in these regionals, because I just see this being I want to be moving on to work super regional. So I am going to enforce these rules by the letter of the law. And we've seen some stuff this year I didn't like in our games with all the celebration, but I think this regionals, I think we're going to see another couple of these instances like they're dealing with. So I think it's a huge break for the Gamecocks, and you hope you put them in the loser's bracket and never have to see the pitcher or even the 3-hole hitter. But I think it's a big break for them.
Yeah, it could be an interesting scenario unfolding here. And Coach King has not announced his at least tomorrow night's starter yet. I would imagine that's coming up here in the next hour or so when he meets with the media. I'm guessing it's probably Eli, but don't know. With that said, though, Coach, NC State and Campbell have to throw their Friday night guy tomorrow at 1:00. They don't have any choice. They got to throw their dude if he's available, right?
Yeah. Well, I was trying to look smart, so I texted Kent Reichert and said, "Hey, who's starting?" And he actually just texted me as we're sitting here and said, we're waiting to see. I'll be honest with you. I'm not going to be shocked if it's not Eli Jones. I'm thinking it could be Hicks. It could be someone different, because I just don't know. I'm not taking anything away from game one, not at all, but it's going to be hard to get through this regional if you have to throw Eli Jones tomorrow night, in my opinion. And I know Sanders is back, but I don't know in what role he's back. I mean, I haven't been over there. I haven't watched bullpens, but I'm kind of waiting to see if it isn't a Hicks or, again, for me, I don't want it to be Becker, because I want Becker in the bullpen. I think another left-handed pitcher in the bullpen, but it'll be interesting to see. But you're right. They're going to have to announce them with the media here in just a little bit as it goes. But Campbell, NC State, y'all know they don't even play midweek games anymore.
Right.
I mean, they don't like each other, period.
No.
So on top of you're playing a 2-3 game, you're playing a game against somebody you don't like, which takes a lot more out of you. And you're playing at 1:00. It's not going to be a typical Columbia 1:00 regional game, but still be warmer than the 7:00 game. So you hope they kind of just wear each other out in about a 15-round match tomorrow.
So, all right, you just brought up, and this debate comes up every year when it comes to regionals at every school in the country. Do you start your ace on Friday or do you not start your ace on Friday? Coach, do you have a theory on that? I seem to remember the days where we're going to throw our Friday night guy on Friday and our Saturday guy on Saturday and our Sunday guy on Sunday, but some people like to do it differently. You mentioned matchups.
I just think you got to know. I don't know enough about Central Connecticut State. If I were coaching and doing a scouting report, I promise you I'd have told you a lot more than what I've done leading into this. If I feel I can win with, player ABC and save my 1 and 2, then I'm going to do it. I think you take all that you have. I don't think you just blindly go, we're throwing our number one because it's, the first game in a regional. These regionals, as I was telling, me and Bobby Harden were talking the other day, it is different than a normal 3-game series because you are supposedly increasing the opponent that you're playing. You're going to play a 4 seed and then play usually a 2 seed. Sometimes a 3 seed does win. But I don't think you can just throw your number one guy out there, run him out there and be done with it. You've got to be smart with your bullpen, because if you do fall in that loser's bracket game, it helps now with the new format. You're only going to play 1 Friday, 1 Saturday, but you could play 2 Sunday and turn around and play again Monday. So, you have to take a lot of this into consideration. So I don't think it's just a case of run your number one out because everybody, thinks you need to. I think you run out who you feel is going to allow you to win this regional.
Okay. Let's to play the game here, that Mahoney, Hicks, and Eli all get starts in some way, shape, or form. As you pointed out, certainly could play a fourth game, certainly could play a fifth game in this thing. But let's just say those are the three guys, and Sanders relegated to the bullpen. My understanding, according to John Whittle the other day, was that he looked really, really good. Maybe the best he's looked in quite a while in throwing a bullpen. Velo was really good and those things. So if Becker and Sanders are in the bullpen with that rotation I just mentioned to you, what does that tell you about this team's chances to maybe do some real damage here in the 2023 postseason?
Well, I think you got a good chance. If Veach is feeling good, I mean, he was a guy. When they were rolling that changeup, I mean, he was a dude. And I talked to teams they were playing after him, teams they were coming in to play. That was who they would bring up the most out of that bullpen. Kate Austin does a great job. He's got a really exceptional changeup. But I'm telling you, when I was talking to those teams doing TV and stuff, Veach was the name that just kept popping up. And I know he's kind of got that dead arm, it seemed like, about middle to right there in the year. But he's my guy. If he is feeling good and he can come in maybe in that 8th inning with an out, I don't know with Will. And I trust Whittle on that, but I haven't seen him throw a ball in so long now. You don't know. Do you run him in there with a clean inning? Is he a guy you're going to run in when there's one out and a runner on third? We don't know. I know it was never an arm issue. So, I mean, that's a big thing. That arm's been fine, and he kept throwing. So, I think if all those guys are healthy and you can set stuff up, as soon as this regional came out, I thought this was a good regional for them. I just really do. I feel like it's I don't know until this week, Central Connecticut. I didn't realize they'd been to 6 regionals. I didn't realize their coach had been there 24 years. To be honest, I wouldn't have realized it if we hadn't played them. I mean, it's just not a program that's ever really crossed, paths with. But they went to Arkansas, I think it was, in 21 and won a game. They beat Cal there in the, the elimination game the first day. So this is a group. I do know that Coach Hickey has coached in the New England League and the Coast and the Cape Cod League pretty much my whole career. So that's how I knew him. I just didn't really know much about his program. So, but the interesting game to set all this up to me is who comes out of that first game. If you can win your Friday night game and set up the Saturday night game, I talked to those guys at Louisville today. I didn't know much about NC State. They said it kind of depends on which team shows up. That one team shows up, they're pretty good if they got there. But there's also a version of them that shows up that, it's kind of, we'll get you the next game. He said that was kind of how they described a little bit how NC State was this year, 13-16. That kind of shows it too. But I'm telling you, this Campbell team, there will be more scouts coming to our games to see Campbell's pitchers maybe than to even see our pitchers, because they have just constantly talked about the depth and power arms they have.
Do you think they deserve to host a regional?
Well,
Campbell?
If you went on RPI, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't say we're going on RPI and then the chairman of the committee is the AD at the one school that gets it. I just thought that was a weird conversation when they asked it. Just be honest. I told y'all that last week. Let's at some point in our society again go, yeah, I'm the AD there. I recused myself. Okay, yeah, they're in. Let's just move on. Yes, I think Campbell should have. They had set it up. And I think Campbell should have, if this Kentucky scenario that we're all seeing is what it is. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen, that someone knew it was okay to put players in dorms and to have parents and families 65 miles away in Louisville. Mm-hmm. That don't make any sense to me.
How would that not have been brought up? Or was it brought up? Or do we know?
Well, obviously we weren't in there, but from what I heard, it was brought up. And the committee felt that by holding hotels in Louisville, they had crossed all the bridges they needed to. I don't know. Did y'all follow on Twitter Randy Mazey's at West Virginia. Mm-hmm. So Coach Mazey was my college coach, so I still keep up with him. I was following some of their stuff last night, and his parents of players, the AC went out in the dorm where the players were. They laid 2 college bunk whatever you call those size beds. They put them together and then put new mattresses on top. And most of them, the rooms weren't ready when they got there with mattress. It was just like, I'm going, the coolest thing about regionals, and I've got to travel for some and I've been home. This is an incredible experience. Only one team's going to win. And usually the host team wins. That's kind of usually how it goes. This is all about the experience of a student athlete. I'm shocked if all that is really realistic that's going on, that Campbell gets pushed to the side and you still allow them to host. That just really did not make sense to me.
Well, Carolina did deserve to host, and they got it, Coach.
Yep.
It didn't look like they were ever truly out of it. As a matter of fact, it just continued as the selections came out, and as time got closer that afternoon. I think people who had enough conversations, put it this way, the conversations that I had with people, they felt very good, and that hadn't really changed much. So the committee down the stretch really gave a lot of leniency to what Carolina had been going through late in the season, and totally felt like their resume was good enough. And so I think that's why, some people were going, fine, just send us to Boston College. We can win that regional. Send us to Campbell. No, if you can host, you host, period. Yeah. Period, the end. You just mentioned a bunch of things there that can go wrong. That's very rare of what's going on in Lexington. Actually, I've never heard of that. But there are other things that can happen that do affect a regional versus being able to sleep in your own bed and all those type things playing at home. So now that South Carolina is home after that trip, and they've had a few days trip to the tournament, the SEC tournament, and they've had a few days off, how do you think this team's going to respond this weekend?
I think it's going to be a team like we saw early in the year. I just think the separation from I guess it was Thursday to now tomorrow, just gives you plenty of time to clear your mind. I mean, and now you got back, they got to do 2-a-day workouts. You get to enjoy. They knew on Sunday they were hosting. So, now when you get to then enjoy your, the game when they do the selection show on Monday. So you get to do that. It really has. I kind of laugh with Billy Anderson, strength coach. It don't feel like a regional, and the only reason it's just been so cool. I'm sitting here in a fleece in my office, and it's June 1st. So, I mean, that part, we used to think, and Coach Tanner had us convinced, the heat was our number one friend when we hosted regionals, because he would convince us, those teams from anywhere up north of us, it could have been like Winthrop. They're not used to this heat. He would say anyone that lived above us, this is who we want. The umpires are going to be hot. So we always thrived on that heat, and it really.
Good news, Coach.
Yeah,
it's all changing. Good news.
Yeah, it's coming up.
We're back. We're back to 90 on Saturday in humid.
Yep. So that's what we wanted. So I do. I think you're going to see a team that I've been impressed here in town. They just haven't taken to media to tell us they're getting ready. I thought they went very quiet, which tells me you've got a team that's focused. You got a good team. I mean, all those wins and against those top tier teams is why they're hosting a regional. Mm-hmm. And they proved it in that regard. Now, yes, you got to get healthy. I feel like they are. It looks like Cole, we've seen everything he's cleared. Wimmer, I don't know. Do they put him back at short? I sure love it when he plays short. I know they got decisions to make if he's back in that regard. But, McGillis is a guy, I don't know what his availability will be the rest of the postseason either. So you don't keep thinking about him. But if Wimmer's back, I feel like he does bring you more range at shortstop. And that's not an insult to anybody that's doing anything. I just think it makes I think it's going to be a good team. I felt from the moment this popped up, this is a regional you can win.
I agree. I thought Carolina got a much better draw than Clemson, in my opinion. God, you've won 17 games in a row. You marched through the ACC tournament. Oh, we're going to send Tennessee and Charlotte in there. And then Lipscomb's not chopped liver either. Up there. That's not to – hey, I'll take what, Carolina's got. And, I'm not drowning in sorrow for them, but if the shoe were on the other foot and South Carolina was number 4 and got that kind of draw, man, I think I'd have been complaining a little bit.
I did too. I think I said it as it happened too. I thought they got a tough draw. I'm trying to remember who they sent to Wake Forest. I was a little caught off guard. If you're they keep trying to say we're ranking these teams. Well, there was some good teams sent to the higher seats. So then you go, and then you match up. You know what? You match up with Florida.
Yep.
And you swept them. So you always got that in your mind to know, hey, we beat these guys 3 times. I know it was here. But I'd much rather play a team I know. I remember the year we matched up against Stanford, 2001. You had no way back then of getting good scouting reports back then, the video and what it is now. So if you can win this thing, and I think Florida wins theirs, at least you feel like it's like when we went to Arkansas in 2018, at least you knew what you were dealing with and you were excited to do that. So I thought that was a good matchup for them as well.
Yeah, Maryland, by the way, is who you were referencing at
Wake.
Maryland's coach
and
is
Northeastern
the front runner for the Alabama job. That's the big word kind of in the circles is Alabama's going to hire him and Georgia's going to hire the guy from Campbell. So it'll be kind of interesting to see if there's some distractions by those guys as this goes on, because you know how the coaching rumor mill is. It's like getting your hair done. Everybody's calling each other to sit there and tell what you've heard, but those two have seemed to be the loudest 2 names. So it'll be interesting to see over the course of a few days.
Outside of getting healthy, which you just mentioned, seemingly as healthy as they've been in a while, especially if Wimmer's going to be out there at short. What would have been Coach Kingston's primary objective or goal this week in getting his team ready to play?
I think just making you feel really good. There's not that many speeches you can give. There's only so many videos of whatever. It's just a week to clear your mind, get reset. Just realize if you win game 1, you're in a good position. You're obviously you got to win 5 games and you're in Omaha.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was really, you didn't want to get too far ahead of yourself ever. But if we win 3 games this weekend and 2 next weekend, we're going to Omaha.
That's right.
So don't let the light at the end of the tunnel be too far away. I mean, it's cool to know, hey, if we can win this game Friday night, we're setting up for our primetime game on Saturday. And if we win that sucker, they got to beat us twice after playing a game earlier in the day. And then it gets hard. So I'd be putting all my effort to feel good. You're in the weight room a bunch this time of week. You're eating, you're getting to do all that. It's just really just getting yourself mentally ready to go. That's what it is. And now when you're starting to get your lineup back, that's an even bigger boost for you. Will Sanders, all of a sudden now he's available. I think it's a huge boost.
Coach, a couple of other quick things here, and then we'll let you get to it. From a region, I know you off the top of your head probably can't name every seed and every regional in the country, but was there something that caught your eye as you kind of touched on it a minute ago? Ooh, that's going to be a tough one for a 1 seed to get out of there. An upset type regional somewhere. JC has mentioned Tennessee, although Clemson is, regardless if anybody wants to hear this or not, they are the hottest team in college baseball. You got some interesting stuff. You got East Carolina up there at Virginia. Of course, Virginia knows their way around the postseason quite well. Campbell here in Columbia is certainly something to keep an eye on. You got A&M playing really well at the end of the year. They got to go out to Stanford. Stanford probably should be careful there. Anything, even a 3 seed or a 4 seed, something for us to kind of watch.
I think the biggest thing for me, obviously South Carolina, Clemson, but Skylar Meade's still a really good friend. To see him get an at-large at Troy, and as I've talked to him, get to go into another environment that he's comfortable. His kids are just driving to Tuscaloosa, and if I'm telling you I'm hearing so-and-so's getting a job at Alabama, well, the Alabama interim's hearing it. So that might be as I told him the other, that might be a good place to be going into, because there's some uncertainty of what's going on there. The fans aren't really sure if they're buying in. So I'm really excited to watch Skylar and them. If he can get his big hitter going, I had to give him a great motivational story to tell that guy. You got to do it. You got to get this guy hitting. This guy's got a name of Sugar Shane. How can he be in a slump? But if he can get going, and then Trip Couch out of Arizona, I still follow Coach Couch. They got in with an under 500 Pac-12 record, and they get to go in. I believe they're going into Arkansas. But again, he's familiar with it. And big thing is, if you're playing tomorrow, you got a good chance as anybody because stuff happens. You just don't know how it's going to go. So I just know right now, today's always a cool day. You're getting to practice. You're getting, your regional T-shirt given to you by the manager. And it's hard to sleep tonight getting ready to play. That was the hard thing about playing the night game is you just wanted to play. I think that's why a lot of teams do choose to play the early game is it just, let's go. Let's get this thing going. And the weather, knock on wood, looks like it's going to be great. And I'm excited for it. I just think it's going to be a great weekend. We sold a lot of tickets.
Can we just go ahead and predict the 2011 UConn thing happens again? So they beat Florida and Gainesville. We win our regional, and then they have to come to Columbia next week. Can we just go down that road? Is that cool?
Believe me, you start doing that. As you kind of start to win, you start paying attention to Florida's regional. Hey, Florida, we've seen them go on the skids. They'll have games where they certainly can do that. I know they finished really strong, finished tied for the championship, but I don't think this is a 2010 or maybe later on Florida team either. So let's hope. I wouldn't mind having 2 weekends of it.
Well, there's a lot of really interesting 3 seeds with a lot of college baseball history as well in the tournament this year. Texas Tech is down there in Gainesville. You got Louisiana down in Miami as a 3 seed. We know them all too well, although thank God it's getting further and further away from us. To never be forgotten, unfortunately. You got Fulton in the Stanford Regional, a program with a ton of history. You got North Carolina up in Terre Haute at Indiana State. You mentioned Arizona. They're in that Fayetteville Regional. You got TCU down there as well. They all know their way to Omaha. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on. I'm with you. I'm proud of Skylar. I hope the Trojans go into Bama and take down the Tide, and we'll see what happens there. Final quick coaching thing. Big news out of Middle Tennessee this week with Coach Myers being named the head coach. That gave me goosebumps when I saw the video because he's such an outstanding person. I know Kevin Nichols is going to stay on as an assistant with him. You know those guys inside and out, and you've known Jerry for decades. Your thoughts and comments on one of your good buddies getting the head gig up there?
Yeah, I'm just proud of him too. Chris Massaro was here for years with all of us. Now he's the AD there. I always, when someone ever asks me about coaches, my line is always, my son's name's Hayden. I'd let Hayden play for him. I don't get to say that about a lot of guys because I don't know them as well as I knew Jerry Myers. And that would be the biggest compliment I can give Coach Myers. I would be very proud to let my son play for him. And anybody, I just had one of my best friends, Quincy Boyd, his son transferred over there this year as a grad student, had a great year. Jeremiah Boyd. Quincy called me and said, I always trusted you, but holy cow, I never got to be around Coach Myers as a scout like I got to as a parent. He is off the charts as a person, his wife, Chris. I was kind of saying, what are they waiting for? I mean, you don't get a guy like that, in that interim role. So I'm super excited for Coach Myers and what he'll get to do there now in that program.
He's going to do an outstanding job. Hopefully there'll be a mid-major hosting a regional before too long. That would be wonderful news. You mentioned your son. He graduates tomorrow. Congratulations to him and to your family. I know you're excited to see him walk across the stage in the morning. And then are y'all going to watch baseball tomorrow night, or is there a party? What are you doing?
Well, here's the deal. He played in the North-South game yesterday or Tuesday and Wednesday. So we got graduation. He is going to help coach the Junior Legion team when he's not playing. So tomorrow night they've got a game, and Saturday he's the field crew for a Little League All-Star game. They're paying him to drag the field, and he keeps telling me he wants to coach when his career's over. And to be honest, I think he really does because that's what he's doing. I know they're going to sneak away a lot of them to the beach next week, but all baseball this weekend until this regional is over before we get going.
Well, Coach, I'll be up there later on this evening, so I'll give you a shout at some point in time tomorrow. But hats off to your son and your family. Congratulations! I know you can't wait to see him walk tomorrow morning, and we look forward to hopefully having a good conversation next week about a super regional.
No doubt, I look forward to it. Thank y'all for having me, and I'll be looking for you this weekend.
Hey, thanks always for making time for us, man. We really do appreciate it.
I enjoy it. I appreciate y'all asking.
Thanks, Coach.
Stuart.
Thanks, Coach.
There you go. Stuart Lake, one of the best in the business.